Han Ho was eating instant noodles when the world changed forever. He sat alone in his small apartment inn, tired after a long day at the aerospace company where he worked as an engineer. The television played quietly in the background. He was not really watching it. His mind was on the rocket engine design that had given him trouble all week. Then the news anchor started screaming. Ho looked up. On the screen, he saw something impossible. A massive ship, bigger than any building he had ever seen, hung in the sky above Seoul. It was shaped like a crescent moon made of black metal and purple light. Smaller ships flew around it like birds around a whale. His chopsticks fell from his hand. For 3 days the world held its breath. Governments sent messages. Scientists made calculations. Religious leaders prayed. The aliens did not attack. They simply waited. On the 4th day, they spoke. Their message was broadcast in every language on Earth at the same time. A tall figure appeared on every screen. He had pale blue skin, silver eyes, and wore robes that seemed to flow like water. He called himself Ambassador of the Empire. They had watched humanity for 2,000 years, he explained. They had seen humans grow from simple farmers to space travelers. They had debated for centuries whether humans were worthy of joining the Galactic Accord, the alliance of civilizations that ruled the stars. They had finally decided, yes. But there was a condition. The Galactic Accord required new species to prove their commitment through a marriage alliance. One human would marry one. This union would bind the two species together in peace. The selection process would begin in 1 week. Ho watched all of this with wide eyes. Marriage alliance. It sounded like something from an old historical drama, not real life. He shook his head and went back to his noodles. This had nothing to do with him. He was just an engineer. He was nobody special. He was wrong. The selection process was simple and terrifying. Every human between the ages of 25 and 35 was entered into a global lottery. The computer would choose one person randomly. That person would represent all of humanity. When Ho heard his name called, he thought it was a joke. He was at work, staring at computer screens when soldiers came through the door. They were not Korean soldiers. They wore the uniform of the United Earth Council, the emergency government formed to deal with the aliens. They walked straight to his desk. Han Ho, the lead soldier asked. Yes. Please come with us. He stared. His boss dropped his coffee cup. Ho felt like he was dreaming as the soldiers led him outside to a black helicopter. There must be a mistake, he said. I am nobody. I just design rocket engines. I am not important. The soldier looked at him with something like pity. The lottery does not care about importance, Mr. Han. It cares about fate. 2 days later, Ho stood on the deck of the flagship. The ship was called the Eternal Dawn, and it was bigger than Ho's entire city. The halls were made of smooth white material that glowed softly. The air smelled like flowers he could not name. He wore a simple black suit. Korean officials had wanted him to wear traditional hanbok, but the said formal human clothing would be acceptable. Beside him walked Commander, a military officer assigned to guide and protect him. Remember, Commander whispered, you represent all of humanity. Do not show fear. Do not show weakness. Make Earth proud. Ho wanted to laugh. He was terrified. His hands were shaking. How could he not show fear when fear was the only thing he felt? They entered the ceremonial hall, and Ho stopped breathing. The room was enormous. Pillars of crystal reached up to a ceiling painted with stars. Thousands of aliens sat in floating chairs, watching. Ho saw blue-skinned but also other species. Green creatures with 4 arms. Tall beings made of what looked like living stone. Small figures with huge black eyes. 12 species had sent representatives. 12 potential brides waited somewhere in this room. Ambassador stood at the center of the hall. He smiled when he saw Ho, but the smile did not reach his silver eyes. "Welcome, human," he said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "You stand where few have stood. Today, you will choose your bride and bind your people to the stars." Ho bowed. His mother had taught him to always be polite, even when afraid. "Thank you for this honor," he said. His voice did not shake. He was proud of that. "The choosing will follow the ancient tradition," continued. "You will be blindfolded. You will walk among the candidates. You will choose only by touch and instinct. This is how we test the soul." A servant approached with a strip of black silk. Ho's heart pounded as the blindfold covered his eyes. Darkness surrounded him. "The candidates will not speak." His voice came from somewhere to his left. "You may touch their hands only. When you feel the one who is meant for you, stop and speak your choice. The soul knows what the eyes cannot see." Ho heard movement, soft footsteps, the rustle of fabric. The candidates were taking their positions. "Begin," said. Ho took a step forward, then another. His hand reached out into the darkness. The first hand he touched was cool and smooth, like touching glass. He felt nothing special. He moved on. The second hand had too many fingers. He counted 7 before he pulled away. The third hand was warm but rough, covered in small scales. Not right. He walked further, fourth hand, fifth, sixth. Each time he felt nothing. Was he supposed to feel something? Was he doing this wrong? Panic started to rise in his chest. Then he touched the 7th hand. It was warm, soft. It felt almost human, but not quite. There was something else, something he could not explain. When their fingers met, he felt a strange pulse, like electricity but gentler, like recognition. He stopped. "This one," he said. Silence filled the hall, complete, absolute silence. Someone removed his blindfold. Light flooded his eyes. He blinked several times before he could see clearly. Standing before him was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. She had silver hair that fell to her waist. Her skin was pale blue like the sky at dawn. Her eyes were gold, bright as stars. She wore a white dress that glowed with soft light. And she was crying. Not sad tears, surprised tears, shocked tears. The silence broke into chaos. Aliens shouted in languages Ho did not understand. Some stood from their seats. Others covered their faces with their hands. Commander grabbed Ho's arm. "What did you do?" he whispered, his face pale. "I chose," Ho said, confused. "Was I not supposed to choose?" Ambassador stepped forward. His silver eyes were wide. When he spoke, his voice was strange, almost afraid. "You have chosen Princess Lyra of the Empire, the third daughter of Emperor, the heir to the eternal throne." Ho looked at the crying princess. She looked back at him with those golden eyes, and he saw something in them he did not expect. "Hope. Is that bad?" Ho asked. Nobody answered. But from the way everyone was looking at him, from the fear and shock on their alien faces, Ho knew the truth. He had just made things very complicated. The room they gave Ho was larger than his entire apartment back home. The bed could fit 10 people. The windows showed the stars moving slowly past as the ship traveled through space. Everything was beautiful and strange and completely terrifying. He sat on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. Commander stood near the door, speaking quietly into a communication device. From what Ho could hear, Earth's leaders were not happy. "What did I do wrong?" Ho asked when the commander finished his call. Sighed and sat down in a floating chair. "You did nothing wrong. You followed the rules perfectly. The problem is who you chose." "The princess," Ho looked up. "Is it because she is royalty? Am I not good enough?" No, shook his head. "It is because she is cursed." Ho blinked. "Cursed, like in fairy tales." "The do not see it as a fairy tale," leaned forward, his voice serious. "Princess Lyra was born with a rare ability. She can feel the emotions of anyone near her. Not just feel them, but experience them completely. If you are sad, she feels your sadness. If you are angry, she feels your anger. If you are afraid." She feels my fear, Ho finished. His stomach dropped. So right now, she knows exactly how scared I am. Yes, and that is why no one chooses her. They value emotional control above everything. They believe strong people should hide their feelings. To have a wife who knows your every emotion, who sees through every mask you wear, this is considered a terrible fate. Previous suitors have run away rather than marry her. Ho was quiet for a long moment. He thought about what it would mean to have someone know his every feeling. No secrets, no hiding, complete exposure. It was terrifying. But then he thought about the princess. He remembered her golden eyes filled with tears. He remembered the hope he saw in them. How lonely must she be? How painful to be born with a gift that made everyone hate you. I want to meet her, he said. Stared at him. Are you sure? You can still withdraw. They will be angry, but Earth will find another way to join the accord. No, Ho stood up. I chose her. I will not run away. They found Princess Lyra in a garden at the center of the ship. Real plants grew there, flowers and trees from a dozen different worlds. Water flowed through channels carved into the floor. Small creatures that looked like glowing butterflies flew between the branches. She sat alone on a stone bench, her silver hair bright against the green leaves. When she saw Ho approaching, she stood quickly. Her golden eyes were red from crying. You came, she said. Her voice was soft and musical. I thought you would run. Everyone keeps saying that. Ho stopped a few steps away from her. Why does everyone think I will run? Because everyone else did. She looked down at her hands. I have been presented at 7 selection ceremonies. 7 times, candidates have touched my hand and moved on. When they did stop, when they learned the truth about me, they left. One even jumped from a moving ship rather than marry me. Ho felt his heart break a little. That is cruel. It is practical. Her voice was bitter. Who wants a wife who knows when you lie, who feels your disgust when you look at her, who experiences your fear as her own? She looked up at him and her golden eyes were hard. I felt your terror when you chose me. I feel it now. You are afraid of me. Yes, Ho admitted. There was no point in lying. I am afraid. I am afraid of many things. I am afraid of this ship, of these aliens, of representing my entire planet. I am afraid of making mistakes. I am afraid of failing. He took a step closer. But I am not afraid of you. Lyra stared at him. Through her ability, she searched for lies in his emotions. She found none. You are strange, she whispered. I am human, Ho smiled a little. We are all strange. He sat down on the bench and gestured for her to sit beside him. After a moment of hesitation, she did. On Earth, he said, we have a saying. The best relationships are built on honesty. We believe that knowing someone completely, understanding their fears and hopes and dreams, this is not a curse. It is a gift. Your people are different from others in the galaxy, Lyra said slowly. I have felt the emotions of many species, the hide everything behind walls of ice, the feel only anger and pride, the feel almost nothing at all. She turned to look at him. But humans, you feel everything, all at once. Fear and courage, sadness and hope. It is chaotic, it is overwhelming. It is beautiful, Lyra added softly. Ho felt his cheeks grow warm. I am not beautiful, I am just an engineer. I design rocket engines. I eat instant noodles alone in my apartment. I am nobody special. You chose me. Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. No one has ever chosen me. They sat in silence for a moment. The glowing butterflies danced around them. The water sang as it flowed. I need to tell you something, Lyra said finally. My father, the Emperor, is not happy about this. He believes humans are primitive, weak, unworthy of the royal family. Then I will prove him wrong. Lyra shook her head. You do not understand. He will test you. The 3 trials of worth. They are ancient challenges designed to break anyone who seeks to marry into the royal family. Many have died attempting them. Ho felt fear rise in his chest. He saw Lyra wince and knew she felt it too. Sorry, he said. Do not apologize for feeling. She reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were warm. It is refreshing. Everyone else apologizes for feeling anything at all. What are these trials? Ho asked. Trial of mind, trial of body, trial of spirit. Lyra's golden eyes were sad. Each one is designed to expose weakness. My father will choose challenges that play to your species' limitations. He wants you to fail. And if I fail, the marriage is cancelled. Humanity loses its chance to join the accord. And she stopped, her voice breaking. I am sent back to my tower to wait for another selection ceremony that may never come. Ho looked at this princess, this cursed woman who felt every emotion around her. He saw her loneliness, her pain, her desperate hope that maybe, finally, someone would stay. He thought about his sister, Hana, back on Earth. What would she tell him to do? He knew the answer. She would tell him to be brave. She would tell him that fear is not weakness. Running away is weakness. Then I will not fail, Ho said. Lyra's eyes widened. Through her ability, she felt the determination rising in him. It was not the cold, controlled determination of a warrior. It was something warmer, something fiercer, something that burned like fire even as fear tried to drown it. You are afraid, she said, but you will try anyway. That is what humans do. Ho squeezed her hand gently. We are always afraid, but we keep going anyway. We call it courage. For the first time since he had met her, Princess Lyra smiled. It was a small smile, uncertain and fragile, but it was real. Courage, she repeated, tasting the word. I would like to learn more about this courage. Stay with me, Ho said, and you will feel it every day. Somewhere on the ship, Commander was explaining to Earth's leaders that their representative had decided to stay. Somewhere else, Emperor was preparing trials designed to destroy a simple human engineer. Somewhere in the darkness of space, enemies watched and waited. But in the garden, under alien stars, two lonely people sat together and held hands. And for the first time in a very long time, neither of them felt alone. The Emperor's throne room was made of black stone and golden light. Giant statues of ancient warriors lined the walls, their stone eyes watching everything. At the far end, on a throne carved from a single crystal, sat Emperor. He was tall, even for a. His skin was darker blue than his daughter's, and his eyes were not gold but deep purple, like bruises. He wore armor made of flowing metal that shifted and changed as he moved. On his head sat a crown of white fire that did not burn. Ho stood before him, trying not to shake. So, the Emperor said, his voice was deep and cold. This is the human who dares to marry my daughter. Yes, your majesty, Ho bowed low the way Commander had taught him. I am Han Ho of Earth. I know who you are. The Emperor did not move from his throne. I know everything about you. You are an engineer. You build primitive machines. You have no military training, no political power, no significant wealth. You are, by every measure, completely ordinary. Ho said nothing. What could he say? It was all true. And yet, the Emperor leaned forward. You chose my daughter, the one no one else would touch. Why? Because she felt right, Ho said honestly. When I touched her hand, something told me she was the one. Instinct? The Emperor's voice dripped with disgust. Humans and their instincts. Animals follow instinct. Civilized beings follow logic. With respect, your majesty, logic told every other candidate to reject the princess. Instinct told me to accept her. Perhaps instinct sees what logic cannot. The throne room went silent. No one spoke to the Emperor like that. Guards reached for their weapons. Advisors held their breath. Then Emperor laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of a predator who has found interesting prey. Courage, he said, or stupidity, we shall see which. He stood from his throne and Ho realized just how tall he was, nearly 3 meters, a giant. You will face the 3 trials of worth. If you pass, you may marry my daughter. If you fail, you die and your planet loses its chance at the accord. Do you accept? Ho thought of Lyra, her golden eyes, her lonely smile. I accept. The first trial was the trial of mind. They brought Ho to a vast laboratory filled with machines and screens. In the center sat a device that looked like a twisted puzzle box made of light and metal. It hummed with energy. This is the eternal engine, explained the scientist who let him in. She was a woman with white hair and tired eyes. It was designed 2,000 years ago to provide unlimited power, but it has never worked. Something is wrong with the design. Many have tried to fix it. All have failed. And I must fix it, Ho asked. You have one day. If you succeed, you pass the trial. If you fail. She did not finish the sentence. Ho approached the engine. He studied it carefully. The design was beautiful but strange. Engineering was based on perfection, on following exact rules and formulas. Every piece was placed with mathematical precision. That, he realized, was the problem. He worked through the day and into the night. He did not try to understand every part of the engine. He did not try to follow logic. Instead, he did what human engineers did best. He looked for what did not fit. He searched for the mistake that perfect logic could not see. He found it at dawn. The engine was too perfect. The energy flow was so precisely balanced that it created a loop, power feeding into itself forever without producing anything useful. The solution was simple but unthinkable to minds. He needed to add imperfection. Ho took a small piece of metal and placed it slightly off-center in the engine's core. Just a tiny imbalance, just enough chaos to break the loop. The engine roared to life. Power flowed out like a river. The scientists gasped. The engine, broken for 2,000 years, finally worked. Impossible, the white-haired scientist whispered. The calculations were perfect. Perfection was the problem, Ho said, exhausted but smiling. Sometimes you need a little mess to make things work. The second trial was the trial of body. They took him to a planet called a death world covered in jungles and filled with monsters. The challenge was simple. Survive for 3 days. Reach the temple at the center of the island. Do not die. The warriors who dropped him off gave him no weapons, no food, no equipment, just the clothes on his back. Humans are weak, one warrior said with a cruel smile. You will not last 1 day. He was almost right. The jungle was alive with danger. Giant insects with poisonous stingers, plants that moved and grabbed, predators with too many teeth and not enough mercy. On the first day, Ho was chased, bitten, scratched, and nearly eaten 3 times. But he did not stop. Human bodies were not strong-like. They were not fast like thee or tough like the stone people. But human bodies had one gift that no other species shared. Endurance. Humans evolved on the plains of Africa, where they hunted by running prey to exhaustion. They could walk and run for hours, for days, without stopping. They sweated to cool down while other creatures overheated. They kept going when everything else had to rest. Ho ran when he had to, walked when he could, hid when necessary. He did not fight the predators. He did not try to be stronger than them. He simply outlasted them. On the second day, a massive beast chased him for 6 hours. It was faster than him, stronger than him. But after 6 hours, it collapsed from exhaustion. Ho kept walking. On the third day, he reached the temple. His body was covered in cuts and bruises. His clothes were torn. He could barely stand. But he was alive. The observers were silent when he emerged. They had expected to retrieve a corpse. Instead, they found a battered but breathing human who refused to quit. The third trial was the trial of spirit. This trial took place in a chamber deep within the palace. In the center of the room sat a machine that looked like a throne made of shadows. Ho was told to sit in it. This device will enter your mind, Emperor explained. He had come to watch personally. It will find your deepest fears and make them real. If you cannot overcome them, your mind will break. Do you understand? Ho understood. He sat in the shadow throne anyway. The darkness took him. He found himself back on Earth, but everything was wrong. The sky was red. The buildings were ruins. Bodies lay in the streets. A voice spoke from everywhere and nowhere. This is what happens if you fail. Your planet burns. Your people die because you were not good enough. Ho fell to his knees. The weight of it crushed him. Billions of lives depending on him. One ordinary man against the fate of humanity. You should give up, the voice said. You are nothing, you are no one, you cannot save them. Ho looked at the ruins. He saw his old apartment building collapsed. He saw his sister's laboratory burning. He felt despair rising like dark water, ready to drown him. Then he thought of Lyra. He thought of her golden eyes and her lonely smile. He thought of how she felt every emotion around her, including his fear. If he gave up now, she would feel his surrender. She would know he was not strong enough. He could not let her feel that. You are right, Ho said to the voice. I am nothing, I am no one, I am afraid. He stood up slowly, his legs shaking. But I am not giving up, because giving up is not the same as failing. Failing means you tried, giving up means you did not. The vision flickered. I will probably fail, Ho continued. I will probably die. Earth will probably burn, but not because I quit. If I go down fighting. That is what humans do. That is what I do. The darkness screamed. The vision shattered like glass. Ho found himself back in the chamber, gasping for breath. Emperor stared at him. For the first time, there was something other than contempt in his purple eyes. You passed, the Emperor said quietly. All 3 trials. No one has done that in 500 years. Ho looked up at the alien ruler. Does this mean I can marry your daughter? The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. In her tower far above the throne room, Princess Lyra felt a wave of emotion wash over her. Exhaustion, pain, relief, and underneath it all, burning bright like a star, triumph. She smiled and started to cry. Her human had won. 3 weeks had passed since Ho completed the trials. The wedding was set for the next full moon of the calendar, which was still 2 weeks away. Until then, Ho lived in the palace as an honored guest, though he knew not everyone honored him. He saw it in the way some looked at him, disgust hidden behind polite smiles, hatred masked by formal bows. The emperor had accepted him, but many in the court had not. Lyra warned him to be careful. There are those who believe humans should never join the accord, she said one evening as they walked through the palace gardens. The glowing butterflies danced around her silver hair. They think your species is too young, too emotional, too dangerous. Dangerous? Ho laughed. We barely have ships that can reach our own moon. How are we dangerous? Lyra stopped walking. Her golden eyes were serious. That is exactly why they fear you. In 10,000 years, the empire has expanded slowly and carefully. In 200 years, humans went from riding horses to splitting atoms. Your species learns too fast, changes too quickly. Some believe that if humans are allowed to join the galaxy, they will eventually take over. Ho did not know what to say. He had never thought of humanity that way. Before he could respond, something changed in Lyra's expression. Her eyes went wide. Her body became stiff. Lyra, what is wrong? Someone is coming, she whispered. Someone filled with hate, with murder. Ho had only a second to react. He grabbed Lyra and threw them both to the ground just as a beam of red light cut through the air where they had been standing. The light hit a tree behind them, and the tree exploded into flames. Guards came running. Shouts filled the air. In the chaos, Ho saw a figure in black clothing disappear into the shadows. They were taken to the Emperor's war room. Commander was there, his face pale with worry. Emperor sat at a great table covered with maps and screens. His purple eyes burned with cold fury. Assassination attempt, he said. Inside my own palace, this is unacceptable. I sensed the killer's emotions before he fired, Lyra explained. Hatred, determination, and something else. He believed he was doing the right thing, protecting the Empire. A true believer, Commander muttered. The worst kind. The Emperor turned to one of his advisors. Find out who is responsible. I want names. The investigation took 3 days. During that time, Ho was confined to his rooms with 20 guards outside his door. He felt like a prisoner. He was going crazy with boredom when his communication device buzzed. It was a message from Earth, from his sister Hana. Opa, her voice came through the small speaker. I am coming. The United Earth Council is sending a diplomatic team and I asked to be included. I will be there in 4 days. Ho smiled for the first time since the attack. Hana was a biologist who studied alien life forms. Of course she would want to come. She had been jealous of his adventure from the start. Be careful, he said into the device. Things are dangerous here. Things are always dangerous somewhere, Hana replied. That is what makes life interesting. She arrived on a small Earthship that looked like a toy next to the warships. Ho met her at the landing dock, and she immediately threw her arms around him. You look terrible, she said, stepping back to examine him. Have you been eating, sleeping? You have dark circles under your eyes. Someone tried to kill me 3 days ago. Hana blinked. Oh, well, that explains the circles. She adapted to life in the palace faster than Ho had. Within 2 days, she had made friends with scientists, learned basic words in 3 alien languages, and somehow gotten permission to study the glowing butterflies in the garden. She also became friends with Lyra. Ho found them together one afternoon, sitting in the garden and laughing. Hana was telling stories about Ho as a child, embarrassing stories he had hoped to keep secret. And then he tried to build a rocket in the backyard, Hana said, but he used the wrong fuel and it exploded and burned off his eyebrows. He looked so funny. Lyra was laughing so hard that tears ran down her cheeks. Through her empathy, she felt Hana's warmth and love for her brother. It was beautiful and strange to experience such open affection. Your family is very different from mine, Lyra said when she stopped laughing. So much emotion, so much chaos. That is just how humans are, Hana replied. We feel everything. It can be messy, but it is also wonderful. The conspiracy was exposed on the 5th day after Hana's arrival. Admiral was one of the highest military commanders in the Empire. He had served the Emperor for 300 years. He was also the leader of the faction that wanted to destroy humans before they could join the Accord. When the guards came to arrest him, he did not run. He stood proudly in the center of the palace courtyard and shouted his beliefs for all to hear. Humans are a disease, he roared. Crowds gathered to watch. They breed too fast, they learn too quickly, they feel too much. If we let them into the galaxy, they will consume everything. They must be stopped. The Emperor himself came to witness the arrest. He stood on a balcony above the courtyard, his purple eyes cold. You have betrayed your oath, Emperor said. You have attacked a guest under my protection. You have shamed the Empire. I have tried to save it, shouted back. One day you will see I was right. One day the humans will prove me right. Ho watched from the crowd. He felt anger, yes, but also something else. Pity. This admiral had served his empire for centuries. He truly believed he was protecting his people. Fear had twisted that loyalty into something dark. Ho stepped forward. The crowd gasped. Commander tried to stop him, but he pulled away. Admiral, Ho said, his voice carrying across the courtyard. I understand your fear. Humans are strange. We are chaotic. We change quickly. These things can be frightening. Stared at him with hatred. But I want to tell you about human history, Ho continued. We have fought terrible wars against each other. We have committed horrible crimes. But we have also learned something important. We learned that enemies can become friends. We learned that differences can make us stronger instead of weaker. He stepped closer to the admiral. You see humans as a threat because we are different, but we do not want to conquer your galaxy. We want to join it. We want to share what we have learned about hope, about forgiveness, about love. These emotions that you fear, they are our greatest treasures. The courtyard was silent. Even the emperor listened without interrupting. You tried to kill me, Ho said. By your law, I could demand your death, but I will not, because revenge is not the human way. Forgiveness is. Admiral's face twisted. You are weak. You should want revenge. No, Ho shook his head. Forgiveness is not weakness. It takes more strength to forgive than to hate. That is something humans understand. He turned and walked back to the crowd. Behind him, guards took Admiral away. The conspiracy was ended. That night the speech was broadcast across the entire empire. Billions of aliens heard a human talk about forgiveness and hope. Many did not understand. Some laughed. But some began to think differently about the strange creatures from the primitive planet. In her tower, Lyra watched the broadcast with tears in her eyes. Through the distance, through the walls of the palace, she could feel Ho's emotions. He was tired. He was relieved. But more than anything, he was hopeful. That hope spread through her like sunlight. She had lived her whole life surrounded by cold control. She had never known what it felt like to hope so freely, so wildly. Now she did. And she never wanted to let go. In his room, Ho received another message from Hana. That was amazing, she said. You sounded like a real hero. I do not feel like a hero, he admitted. I feel like a man who is trying not to mess everything up. Hana laughed. That is what all heroes feel like, Opa. That is the secret they do not tell you in stories. Outside his window, the stars continued their slow dance. The wedding was 1 week away. The conspiracy was over, but Ho knew the danger was not finished. There would always be those who feared what they did not understand. But there would also be those willing to learn, willing to change, willing to hope. That was enough. That had to be enough. The wedding day arrived with golden light. 3 suns rose over painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple. The great temple of stars, where royalty had married for 10,000 years, stood tall on a mountain that touched the clouds. Ships from 100 worlds filled the space above, each carrying witnesses to this historic union. Ho stood in a small room at the base of the temple, trying to remember how to breathe. He wore a special outfit made for this day. It was a combination of human and tradition. The base was a Korean hanbok, colored deep blue like the sky. Over it, he wore a cape of flowing silver that moved like water. On his chest sat a medallion shaped like earth, surrounded by stars. Hana helped him adjust the cape. You look handsome, she said, her eyes shining with tears she refused to let fall. Our parents would be so proud. Ho thought of his mother and father, both gone now for many years. He wondered what they would think of their son marrying an alien princess. They would probably laugh, he decided. Then they would tell him to be brave. It is time, Commander said from the doorway. The ceremony is about to begin. Ho took a deep breath and walked out to meet his future. The inside of the great temple was beyond anything he had ever seen. Crystal pillars rose to a ceiling painted with the history of the empire. Thousands of guests sat in floating seats, representing every major species in the galaxy. Music played from hidden instruments, a song that made Ho's heart feel both heavy and light at the same time. At the far end of the temple, standing before an altar made of pure light, waited Princess Lyra. She wore a dress of white and gold that seemed to be made of starlight itself. Her silver hair was decorated with tiny gems that sparkled like the sky at night. Her golden eyes found Ho across the vast room, and she smiled. Through her empathy, she felt his emotions as he walked toward her. Fear, yes, always fear, but also love and wonder, and a fierce determination to make her happy for the rest of her days. She had never felt anything so beautiful. Ho reached the altar and took Lyra's hands. They were warm and soft and fit perfectly in his. Emperor stood beside them, his purple eyes unreadable. "We gather here to witness the union of two souls," he said, his voice echoing through the temple. "A union that joins not only two people but two civilizations. Let the vows be spoken." Ho went first. His voice shook a little, but the words came from his heart. "Lyra, when I chose you, I had no idea who you were. I only knew that my soul recognized yours. Now that I know you, I understand why. You are kind. You are brave. You carry the emotions of everyone around you, and instead of becoming hard, you became gentle." He squeezed her hands. "I promise to stand beside you. I promise to share every emotion with you, even the painful ones, even the scary ones. I promise that you will never feel alone again. This is my vow." Lyra's eyes were full of tears. She felt the truth of every word through her gift. There was no deception, no hidden fear, only love. She spoke her vows next. "Ho, I have spent my life as an outsider. My gift made others afraid of me. I learned to hide, to be silent, to expect nothing. Then you came. You felt fear, but you did not run. You felt uncertainty, but you stayed." Her voice grew stronger. "You have shown me what courage truly means. Not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. I promise to learn from your strength. I promise to share my gift with you openly and honestly. I promise to feel every joy and every sorrow by your side. This is my vow." The Emperor raised his hands. "The vows have been spoken. Let the binding begin." Light flowed from the altar, wrapping around their joined hands. It was warm and electric, a physical connection that would mark them as partners forever. And then everything went wrong. The first explosion hit the west side of the temple. Crystal shattered. Screams filled the air. Guests dove for cover as more explosions rocked the building. Through the broken walls, Ho saw them. Ships, thousands of them pouring from the sky like black rain. They were not like any vessels he had seen before. They were organic, twisted, covered in spines and teeth. They looked like monsters that had learned to fly. "The swarm," Emperor breathed. His purple eyes were wide with shock. "Impossible. They were destroyed 1,000 years ago." But they were not destroyed. They had been waiting, hiding in the dark spaces between stars, growing, preparing, and now they had returned. The fleet scrambled to respond, but they were caught off guard. Ships that had come for a wedding now fought for survival. The sky became a chaos of light and fire. Emperor grabbed Ho's arm. "Take my daughter, get her to safety. I must lead the defense." "No," Ho's voice surprised everyone, including himself. "I can help." The Emperor stared at him. You are one human. What can you do against the swarm?" "I am not just one human," Ho pointed to the sky. Among the warships, 6 small vessels flew in tight formation. They were Earth ships, the diplomatic escort that had brought Hana. "Those are my people, and we know something about war that you have forgotten." Before the Emperor could respond, Ho was already running. He found Commander near the temple entrance, shouting orders into his communication device. "Commander, can you contact the Earth ships?" "Yes, but what can 6 ships do against thousands?" "Get me command authority, trust me." Within minutes, Ho was connected to Captain Park Mi-young, the leader of the Earth escort. Her face appeared on his screen, calm despite the chaos around her. "Mr. Han, what are your orders?" "The fleet is fighting in formation. They are predictable. The swarm is learning their patterns. We need to introduce chaos." Captain Park smiled. It was a warrior's smile. Chaos is what humans do best. The Earth ships broke from conventional formation. Instead of fighting in the rigid patterns they used, they moved unpredictably. They attacked in sudden bursts, retreated without warning, used asteroids and debris as shields and weapons. They fought dirty. The swarm, which had evolved to counter the predictable tactics of the elder races, could not adapt fast enough. Every time they predicted where a human ship would go, the ship went somewhere else. Ho coordinated from the ground, using every trick he knew from studying Earth military history. The Battle of Island, the guerrilla tactics of resistance fighters, the unpredictable movements of Korean naval commanders who had defeated impossible odds. Pattern 7, he shouted into his device. Split and reform at Point Delta, make them chase us. The commanders watched in disbelief. These primitive humans were achieving what their advanced warships could not. They were turning the tide. But it was not enough. 6 ships could confuse the enemy, but they could not win the battle alone. Then Ho heard a voice he did not expect. "This is Admiral of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress signal. 200 ships are jumping to your location now." Ho stared at his screen. 200. We only have 200 ships in our entire fleet. Every ship volunteered, Admiral replied. You are one of us, Mr. Han. Earth does not abandon its own. The sky lit up as jump portals opened. Human ships poured through, small and primitive compared to vessels, but crewed by men and women who knew how to fight without rules. The battle changed. Lyra found Ho on a balcony overlooking the battlefield. His face was tired, his clothes were torn, but his eyes burned with fierce light. Through her empathy, she felt something extraordinary coming from him. He was terrified, he was exhausted, he was in pain. But underneath it all there was hope, unbreakable, impossible hope, the belief that somehow, against all odds, they could win. It was the most human thing she had ever felt. She took his hand. You are amazing, she whispered. I am just doing what humans do, he replied. We refuse to give up. Above them the battle raged on. The swarm was being pushed back. Not defeated, not yet, but hurt. Confused. For the first time in 1,000 years they had found prey that would not die easily. The wedding was interrupted. The ceremony was incomplete. But standing on that balcony, holding hands as the universe burned around them, Ho and Lyra felt something more powerful than any ritual could create. They felt connected. They felt ready. They felt like partners. And that was enough for now.